Welcome inside the Healing House. This is where we have real conversations about healing, not the polished ones, but the honest, lived experiences of what it means to move through something and come out a completely different person. Nothing here is about telling you what you should do. We're not fixing, we're not diagnosing. We're just talking honestly among friends, okay, about the messy parts and the growth that comes through having a chronic illness or an autoimmune condition. So today I'm sitting with a friend of mine, Lou. Lou, welcome.
Hello,
And
everyone. What up?
awesome. Yes. And honestly, Lou, today we are just sitting as friends. This is not necessarily an interview. I don't want you to view it as that. I want you to know we're here just to have a conversation as if we were sitting on a couch, sitting on a front porch, really in a space where we can both feel safe to tell the truth. Okay?
Yeah, love
So,
that.
all of you guys out there watching, if you're like me, you're probably wanting to take some notes, and I just want you to put that down. Okay, we're not here to take notes. I want you to truly be in this space. Okay, see, I know. See, there are people out there because I'd be that person. And really just listen. You can rewatch this, but really, I just want you to start noticing what feels familiar. And if something hits, it's probably because it matters. So, let's just dig in right now. So, Lou, what feels different in your body or your life compared to when things were really heavy?
I would say my mind, which was the main area that was affected. I used to have a lot of brain fog and like slow to process. I've always felt like when I was really in the depth of my sickness, I was like, I just can't focus. Nothing makes sense. Like, I can't learn this way. I can't even read a book because every time I went to do something, I would just feel like something else was in my body, like slowing me down. I literally felt like it wasn't even me. So I would say, like, having my mind back was the biggest difference. And that has brought so much life to me because I'm like, now that we can think, you
Yeah, I
know?
mean, that changes everything.
Yeah.
And how long would you say that you had that brain fog, that where your mind was taken from you?
I would say it was probably at least from the age of 27 to maybe 30,
Wow.
31. So it
Wow.
was a while of just like struggling. It wasn't something that was like a couple weeks. You wake up one day and you might have a hangover or you work too hard or whatever could be. You ate something that threw you off. But this was more like months and
Oh,
years. And it was just like, no one being able to find out what it was, and it was really like starting to get to me. So it was like one of those things that was really taking a toll and didn't want to leave, like no matter what I did. It's like, oh, I read this thing, I can do this, and
yeah.
I'm sure tomorrow I'll feel better. And you wake up and either the same or worse, which
Yes.
was like, oh.
Oh
So
my goodness. So tell me a little bit about your journey necessarily. What were you diagnosed with something? What happened? Did it take a while? Tell me a little bit about it.
yeah, so I was actually diagnosed with Lyme disease. So I was bit by a tick years ago, and I had no idea that
Mm.
it was a tick bite. I didn't grow up knowing about ticks. I was born in Puerto Rico, so we didn't really talk about ticks like that. But living in Florida, a lot of people knew about it. And so I was just like, this bite that I had, pretty good size, like bullseye rash. That I took a picture of it.
Okay.
Interesting. I thought it was a spider bite, so I was telling everybody we got bit by a spider. Like look at this welt on my
Yeah.
back of my leg. In
Yeah.
Florida, everybody's always talking
Oh, of
about like all
course.
these things because
Yes.
they're always in the swamps and things like
Yes.
that. So you get kudos for this. So I kept the picture,
Yeah.
and like I didn't know that it was a tick.
Mm.
Years later, I started experiencing like these weird joint pains and like heart issues and just various different neurological problems. Like my mind was not keeping up with me. And I was a sharp kid. I was always known for being fast and strong and do anything and think super on my feet. And I was losing all of that. And I was married at the time, and my partner was noticing like something
Mm.
was wrong and they got scared. And so I started going to doctors because I was like, hey, like I'm having like numbness and issues happening in my body, or like all of a sudden this joint is swelling up and turning purple for no reason. Like I didn't do anything to it. I mean, I'm rough with my body, but nothing unusual since I was a kid. And so they were concerned because of my age. And at the time, my job, I was climbing a lot. So I was climbing up towers in construction. And so they were like nervous that maybe my body wasn't keeping up and I was becoming more of a risk. And so they were like, yeah, go get this checked out. And so I kept looking, and it wasn't until years later, actually. So it was kind of sad because I went through a lot of tests before they actually find out that I had the Lyme. It was actually after my heart issues. So I had like heart ablations because of my heart just like freaking out so many times that they like, we need to like go in there and like, burn some areas to like cure you, to help you. And it did, it worked. But then the doctors were piecing everything together, like all the different things from joint swelling to, heart issues, and then brain stuff, and like vision stuff, ear stuff. And they were like, I think we should test you for something a little different outside of the box at this point. And so then I went and saw a Lyme specialist, and they confirmed that I had Lyme disease and I needed to go on antibiotics immediately. And I tried that route. I actually got really sick off the antibiotics. Yeah, they wanted me on antibiotics for at least a 2 years minimum,
That's a long time.
and it wasn't guaranteed that it would be cured.
Oh my goodness.
And so there was like this, like, I was at one point, I had a bag of medication. I mean, I'm 27 years old at this point, like not doing well. Like I had issues with even walking because it was almost like I had Parkinson's at some point. So I was just like, they were like, it's either MS or you have like some sort of like muscular issue that deteriorating, like, because my muscles were getting weaker, and they were just like, we don't know what's doing this to you, but you're really sick and we need to, give you some medication to get you better. And so like at one point I had a bag of 25 pills that I was taking on a daily to
At
be able to move.
27.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was just like, these in the morning, these in the afternoon, this so I can walk, and this. And if I didn't take them, I was bedridden, or I couldn't even pick up a fork. Like I would be like, like it was like everybody was looking at me like, oh, you have like ALS, like you're dying, dude. And I was just like, I don't know what's wrong with me. And it's like really sad, for a long time. But during that time, I got introduced to mushrooms.
Mm.
I actually have a tattoo on my ribs of a ton of mushrooms. But I got introduced to mushrooms, and Ayurvedic style of medication. Like it was no longer helping me. So I was going more Chinese route, Eastern medicine. And I started seeing acupuncture. I mean, everything possible in the more holistic route. And I completely did a turn between changing my food and taking, more of the plant medicine route, and even sound healing. Like people are like, you need to do sound healing, like the sounds, the way it works with your body. So then I was doing sound healing and breath work, and all that stuff
Mm.
got rid of. I mean, I did a lot because it's very somatic. Whatever was happening in my body was like stuck. And so like I did all of those things, and before like 3-4 months, I was able to finally get rid of the medication, where I threw all my medicines out. Like I threw and it was scary because I was like, if I get
Yeah,
rid of this, I'm codependent on these meds now, because I'm like, I remember not being able to walk, like, not
I
being
can
able to
imagine.
see, and like, yeah. So at one point I was like, I trust that, the universe
Oh,
is working with me right now, and this that led me to these plants. And so like I let go, and
that's
I
huge.
threw them all out. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
3 to 4 months you were trying these things, and at 3 to 4 months you started seeing a shift.
Yeah. So much. Okay. This is crazy. So much to my ex bought me a one wheel. You know those
Okay.
one wheels,
Yeah,
electric
yeah, yeah.
skateboards that have one
Yes.
wheel in the center?
Yes.
It's like, all right, we're going to see how well you can balance now. We're going to put this to the test. Like, we're going to help you, because I wanted to go back to climbing towers. And it's like,
Okay.
well, if we're going to know for sure, you need to be able to ride this board by yourself. So I was like, bet. And so like after all this, the 3 months came in, I'm like, I could do this. And I like took the board outside and just started like practicing, and got my balance back, got my strength, started working on, like, everything just did a 360. Now, I can't say that I never got sick again. It all depends on like if you're eating right, if you're keeping up with your healing journey. You can't just like, I healed and then that's it. I'm going back to drinking, or I'm going to like not sleep well, or I'm not, you have to be, especially for me, like I think it was a lot of any overexposure to anything like sun or like too
Okay.
much stress or if I was sick, things like that. I had to be extra cautious because I do have autoimmune at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so, like, knowing that is just like, I know what got me cured, right?
Mhm.
Not all the way, but I am cured from a lot of the things I suffered from. And I know what keeps me well. And I think it's kind of like a thorn in the flesh, like where it kind of keeps you right.
Yeah.
I felt like the tick was there to wake me up. Like it had some sort of like,
Yeah.
reason to come into my life and change, like give me all of these resources and tools to heal myself so that I can share with others.
That's
So.
beautiful. You said so much good stuff, and I'm like trying to like pull it out. I'm like,
Sorry.
hold on, but I don't want to like stop you because okay, because we're going to talk about that because I think that's a huge shift, right? Because I think for me, I resonate with what you said so much. For me, it wasn't a tick, right? But it was something. And that moment that my life changed, or I was hit right by a truck, I call it. And I'm like, oh, I was an athlete. I could run. I could do all these things. And one day I'm like, I can barely get to the kitchen without like, how do I even breathe? Like, I'm like, it's so heavy to breathe. Like everything was so exhausting. But it woke me up. It woke me up and I completely shifted my whole life because of that moment of awakening. So I want to come back to that, but I do want to talk about what you said about you had to trust. And I think a lot of people can resonate with that, either the lack of trust or finally trusting, because how do you pull from the resources of westernized medicine, right? The ones that they've said this works, right? There's testing, there's all this stuff, and like you've trusted it and they're telling you this is the way to get there, right? Like you've got to use this because if not, you're going to end up in a bed again. How were you able to finally release and just say, you know what? I'm truly going to trust in this way and I'm going to let go of that. Like, how were you able to do that?
I think I got really empowered the moment I was able to feel my fingertips. Like, I mean, I went from feeling numb, like all the time, fatigued, then I had energy and I was able to feel my hands again. And my legs, there was a point where I was like dead leg. I was dragging my legs behind me where I would walk and I would just be like, oh God. And I just remember like feeling like there's this like spirit inside of me, like giving me power to walk again and
Mm,
like feeling it through my hands, like vibration, like this. I was like, oh, this is like Reiki or something, like it
yeah,
was
yeah,
wild. So it was like this awakening within, like the etheric body just like vibrating and telling me. It was like if you listen, if you're quiet enough at that point,
yeah,
I was so quiet I didn't have no choice. I was just sitting there watching TV like I'm dying. Anyway, put
yeah,
something on TV to make me feel
yeah.
better. Like I couldn't barely do anything. And so, like, watching myself from the inside, there's this point where you're like bedridden. I was bedridden for a while, so much where all you can hear is yourself. And then you hear this other version of you that comes alive. It's like, hey, we've
Mm,
been here. Like we've been here. And you're like, wait, who's that?
yeah.
And it's like this other side of you that's been lying dormant the whole entire time. And
Mm,
like it has so much to tell you. And I like to call it your ancestors, your spirit guide, whatever it might be, awoke, and was able to start guiding me. And I would go back into those moments like, how quiet do I have to get to hear you
mm,
again?
yeah,
Because you got me out of that. But
yeah,
it wasn't until I got into that moment where I was just like, I got nothing left,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it's when you hit rock bottom, right? Like everyone's rock bottom's different, right? People have different versions of whatever, but when you get to the point where you have nothing more, you almost have to trust. And also like knowing it is inside of you, like it truly is in here, but sometimes life just gets so much that we can't listen. We can't listen to the voices inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you mentioned the tick, right? That moment, right? The tick bit you, and that was almost like an awakening in itself, right? If that wouldn't have happened, who would Lou be today?
Man, I'm not gonna lie. I'll throw myself out there right now.
Yeah.
I was pretty selfish.
Okay.
I was not doing any of like if you look at me now, if you look at my who I am, like I'm very in community. I'm constantly writing, blogging, connecting to different spiritual teachings and like gathering around all the ancient, work that's out there, like wanting to learn, like geeking out on this stuff. Like I wasn't that way. I was more like work, make money, like party and like what can I take? Like I grew up very different, where it was just like fast life. Like I was just putting myself in the most riskiest situations, but I still kind of do, but a little bit
I
more
get that.
mindful now. I gotta feel myself sometimes, but
Yeah.
I'm not as ignorant as I used to be. You know, I was just like didn't care about other people as much. I had no compassion. I didn't even know what my heart felt like, honestly. Like I would just watch people like cry in front of me, and I'd just be like, yeah, it sucks. I don't know what to tell you. I've never felt that way before. I've never felt, you know, and so it was like really harsh. And it's just from upbringing and all the things that
Yeah.
I had gone through, but I didn't
Of
realize
course.
that it had built up like this whole wall and, you know, disconnection from myself, which the tick allowed me to remember that I am here and there's other versions of me that, you know, have so much to share with me. And in that way I was able to start relating with others, actually, because I was able to see myself in them. Like when I look at people's eyes, I'm like, oh wow, like I know that version of me, and
Mm,
it's in you. And like, oh, like I have feelings about it now. It's like it was a medicine. The
yeah.
tick was a medicine,
Mm.
honestly.
I think it's beautiful. And I love, sometimes it's hard when you're in it to see that, right? Because you're just like, this sucks, right? Like, I feel this way, it sucks. But when you're able to even see a little bit of light, right? Like, even if you're not fully, like, you start noticing that, hold on, like, this was actually something that was didn't happen to you, it happened for you, right?
Yeah,
And it really that was huge shift for me, was like, this isn't happening to me, it's for me. And I realize now, because I was a complete opposite of you. Like, I cared way too much about others. I was just this big people pleaser, right? Like, I only lived for others, right? And how much that damaged my body, right? So it's just like sometimes things do happen, and I don't think you see it until you're out of it, because a lot of people can't see the good in the bad when you're in it, right? It's not until
yeah,
you're able to come out where you're like, hold on a second. There was something positive that came out of this experience, right? It didn't just happen for no reason. It actually happened to help me have a better life and live with more joy, right? And
yeah.
happiness and peace. Yeah.
Yeah, what's interesting is I would touch on that because I was actually, while I was in that state of mind where I was like lower and like struggling, I had people tell me like, oh, find a group and like, you know, connect with other people who have Lyme disease or whatever. And I did. And then I also found myself kind of like stuck in that loop of we're all sick, which that kind of messed me up a little bit. I would wake up and just be like, I am someone with my Lyme disease, and like, let me connect with other people. Yeah, we're like, yeah, me too. And like, you feels good in the beginning, but then you can't get out of it. It's almost like a weird nightmare in a sense of like surrounding ourselves by others who don't want to either get out of it, or they just like, oh, it's just you don't understand. I'm just so sick and I've tried everything. And I'm like, no, I get it. And like, there's more, and we don't have to be here. It's just like being that one person in the room that says, like, I don't want to be the sick person, you
Yes.
know? And not everyone can say that. Not everyone can say that, because I totally respect the people who, you know, are in their deathbed with whatever disease that they can't
For
ever
sure.
escape from. And that is their reality. But a lot of us do have the power, and we can, even though it might feel like we're dying, we might have to die to a version of ourselves. You know, that just might be
Amen.
the way out.
Yes.
So,
I love that you said that, because that is actually a huge, huge part. Um, People get stuck in the identity of illness. They do. I've worked with a lot of people, and I have a community myself, and that was my biggest thing with creating this community. Was I looked at communities out there and I'm like, hell no, like hell no, this makes me feel worse. And then when I got out of it, I'm like, hold on a second, now I'm in this community where, or it was a Facebook group, like, where people just talk about this, and they're stuck, they're in the same place, and I'm like, now I'm out here, I feel like I'm being pulled back in. Like, that's not a place that you want to be in. And I think that all of us, right, at one point, we get stuck with this identity, and we think we have to live with it for the rest of our lives, but we don't. You have a choice to step out of it. Yes, there's that percentage of people that, yes, unfortunately, and it breaks my heart, because I realize there's certain conditions that are incurable, right? Like, it is what it is. That's a very few amount of people. The other part, it really, there is a chance to get out of it, but we're so stuck with that and I speak from this because my mom was sick all my life and I
Mm.
saw it happen. I saw it till the day she died. And I know what it looks like to be able to get yourself out, but being so stuck with that identity that you can't pull yourself out of it. And sometimes being surrounded by people that are in that really just keeps you in. And it is important for you to distinguish the difference and be able to surround yourself with people who are wanting to get out versus those people that just want to stay in. So I really do like that you and again, that may be very sensitive to some people because I think being in it, they may not see it that way, but it is the reality, right? Being an outsider, that is a reality. An identity of chronic illness is real and it exists.
Yeah, I like to say, and this is something that I would repeat to myself constantly. It's like you want to die alive. If you're gonna do it, stay awake, stay alive in the process. Feel it all. Love as deep as you can. Be here to one eye that I can't look out of this eye. I'm gonna look out of this
Yeah.
eye. I don't give a fuck. Like we're going down. I'm using
Yeah.
every single inch of
Hell
this
yeah.
body, and it's
Oh,
kind of like that energy. Like it have the wild idea that you
yeah.
can go out that way. If it's gonna take you, let it take you alive.
Hell yeah.
Have some heart with it.
Hell yeah.
I think that that's a big thing, and I think that comes from the Caribbean, us being,
Maybe.
Puerto
Yeah.
Rican, and we're in that. That's our people. Is that we're no matter what place we're in, we have a lot of orgullo. Like
We
we're
do.
up there,
Hmm.
with our chest, like take on, and if you're gonna
Hell
take
yeah.
this too,
Yeah.
like.
Hell yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, would they tell me you're gonna have something for life and this is just your reality? Like, hell no. Like, you're not gonna say that. Like, I still have that. Like, I will prove you wrong in that sense. And it's not, sometimes I go too far. I think that's been my journey too, because when I was told that, I obsessed. Like, my diet was pristine, and people will tell you, like, you have no idea. I have willpower, like, probably there's only a few of us that have willpower like that. Like my wife will tell you, it's ridiculous. She's like, I don't understand how you do it. I'm like, oh no, because like I was told that I'd probably never be able to have kids. It was the worst day of my life because that was something I really wanted to do was carry a child. That day when that man told me, it completely broke me. It took me about a month or two of depression to then be able to come out. But when I came out swinging. And I was like, I am not going to, this is not my reality. And here we are. I mean, I have a 4 year old, right? Like a 4 year old son I was able to carry after being told that. And my thing is, I did go crazy, which is because I went so strict on my diet. I did, and it helped. But then it did worse in the end, right? Because it was the same personality type that got me sick. It was the same one that was keeping me sick, right? And so there is like a balance that you have to find. But regardless, yeah, go out swinging. Like, don't let someone, I was speaking to someone else and they were like, no, if a doctor tells you something's forever, don't ever accept that because maybe the diagnosis is gonna be on your paper forever, right? That's one thing. But you don't have to feel sick forever. Like you do not have to claim that identity. Like you have a choice to be able to feel better with whatever feel better means, right? Maybe you're not in a bed and maybe you can just be happy being able to walk again, right? Whatever that looks like, you do not have to settle for what someone tells you. The second you do, it's embedded, it's stuck. And now, guess what? The reality is you're probably going to end up that way because you've accepted what someone told you, right? And it's like never accept what someone tells you, live it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I had a very similar experience. When I was when I was operating machinery, which I was way up in the sky. I was about 500 feet in the air, and I had my first heart issue when I had Lyme. And it was so bad. I was in the middle of a lift, and so in these machines, you have a cab that you're sitting there with controllers, and you have a seat, and you're looking down through these glass windows, and you're picking things up and moving them on the job site, different materials. And I was in the middle of the lift, and then I was just like felt my heart just like skyrocket. It was an SVT, and I didn't realize I was going under an SVT at the moment. And I just felt like super, like my sight was changing, my breathing pattern changed, and I was just like, okay, I need to stop. So then all I could do was like land the load. Hey guys, get out of the way. Just like called them on the radar. What's been happening? I gotta land this right now. I landed the load, called on the radar. There's two other operators up in the air with other tower cranes. Called them up, and I was like, hey, like I'm out. Like I'm not doing well. Like they're like, what's happening? And then that was it. I was off the radio.
Oh my gosh.
within a few minutes, believe it or not, fire department was up there, and I was on some guy's lap getting pulleyed down
Sheesh.
the tower crane on this, like, and he's like, you're okay, kid, like, this happens, you're gonna be okay. And I was like, oh my God, I'm
Yeah.
getting pulled down in front of everyone. So the whole entire job site got shut down, looking at me coming down. The operator had a heart issue. Guess what happened to my license?
Yeah.
I lost everything. And so it took me forever. And it actually was the doctors themselves. They were like, you'll never climb again. Just say goodbye to your career. And you know what I do right now.
Yeah. No.
I haven't
You
had
do
any
it. You
issues
got it
since
back.
then.
Yeah.
I came back, but it took me years to get my license back, to be trusted again, to have a contractor even look at me, because they were like, "You're the one who had that heart issue up there. You're every contractor's fear, like." And I was like, "Yeah, but like, let me prove to you." Like, I had to. I mean, there was moments after my surgery, and I was like in this training area where they do the PT,
Okay.
and I'm over here like with all the heart monitor stuff on and trying to exercise, and like, get off the machine, kid, you're done for the day. And I'm like, what? And
No,
this
I
like
gotta
70-year-old
go.
lady kicking my ass, and she's like, ah, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what? And so it's like it really screwed with me,
Oh, I
being
bet.
told I couldn't do it, and then having the whole entire world kind of mimic that
Hmm.
whole idea so much, to where it was like, yeah, like you didn't want to hear that. You're like, no, this is not where I stopped. This is not, this is not me. And then there was also a fine balance, because I did very similar to what you did, like went hardcore the other way. I'm going for it. I don't care. And I had to die to that version of me as well, of like, I'm not here to not be sick. I'm not here to, my mission is not to get better.
Hmm.
Right. So like maybe I don't get better. That has to leave my mind, because then there's this like goal oriented version of me that is not really compassionate. I'm
I
not
love
giving
that.
myself the time of day. I'm not,
Mm.
taking care of like the little things, like, did I really want to do that today? Like asking the questions, or relating with others in a different way, like sharing that I'm actually not well today, because that's a hard thing for us, I think, to even say I'm
Yeah.
not feeling well today, because you're scared to
Yeah.
be that again. Like,
Hmm.
and so, yeah, like I think that there was a version of me that had to, you know, learn to release the idea of curing myself.
Mm. Yeah, that's beautiful. Honestly, that is really, I think, where it's at because I think grief happens right when you're sick, and a lot of people feel and resonate with that they've had to lose parts of them. And I think sometimes it's hard to let go of that version of you, but realizing that there's a version of you that does have to die in order for you to live, and again, your life will probably, I tell people this, because they want to get to where they used to be, right? And I say, well, you're never going to be that because the reality is you're probably going to be better because the reality is you're not going to be the same person. Like, and I tell them that because a lot of people are like, what do you mean I'm never going to be? I'm like, no, because the version of you before never went through this. It never had to go through this. So like, of course you're not going to be the same person. You trying to get back to the old version of you, like that version doesn't exist anymore. Like it's a new version and a more like a refined, improved version of yourself. That if you can finally accept that version and be able to grieve that other version, you can finally get your life back and actually a better life. But there's a fine line of how can I let go of that? It's hard because it's been a part of you all your life. And then realizing, hold on, I'm not that person anymore. Even if you're better, sometimes it scares people to be there. So I love that you said that because it's such a huge part of healing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So I know that we've been here a little bit, but I really wanted to, it's been such a great conversation. I know that you've done some different things, right? You said acupuncture. The one thing I know you mentioned you've done, what was it? The bee venom.
Be
And
venom
yeah,
therapy.
and I wanted to hear about what other like out there things for some people that they're like, what do you mean you've done these things? Like what I know you did the plant medicine, which I think that's been a huge thing for me too. So, but what other things that have just assisted, right? Because I feel like there's never one thing that helps you. It's almost like a compilation and then you almost changing this whole identity that really gets you to that place.
Yeah. So the very first thing that I started working with was plant medicine. And so the plants, mushrooms, ayahuasca, kambo is more of the frog actually. That's a venomous frog. And what that did for me was to clear out these like layers. It's like it kind of felt like there was like toxicity over the receptors. So I wasn't actually taking in nutrition. And
Mm.
so like I needed purging. Actually, the body needed purging. And there's other ways that we could purge without introducing psychedelics or
Okay.
any very heavy, medicines. But honestly, like I was at that point where I was like, I was so sick that I couldn't get any worse. So I was like, preparing myself
Yeah.
for that. And what allowed me to prepare to receive those medicines, honestly, was somatic practices like breath work and being able to work with sound healing. Sound healing helped open up channels in my body that I didn't know I needed to be able to receive medicine, because medicine is also like music. It's
Yes.
a geometry, it's very interesting the way that it hits your body. You get to see that yourself because you get to see in the trip, you get to see what it looks like. And it's these codes that are meeting the codes in your body and like recalibrating it, reorganizing it. And so like that helped release a lot of things that I was not able to touch with Western medicine or even some of the Eastern medicine, because there was things that were way beyond the specific levels of the surface, beyond the fascia. When we're doing fascia work, that holds a lot of memory as well, as we can do those things, but there was something beyond that, more in the gut. And so like I believe that most healing is in the gut, whether we want to work with sound in the gut or whether we want to work with somatic in the gut, everything is held there. And so, like, a lot of that can be shifted out, whether you want to do it more intensely with that or not. But bee therapy for me was really important because it was also a medicine. People don't really look at it that way. For me, the bees felt like taking a cup of ayahuasca as well, but not as visual. But
Right.
the body was just so like, it was like this golden nectar hitting
Oh.
my nerves and just
Oh.
kind of like resetting them as well. And the more I did it, the stronger I felt. So there was just like different versions of healing that I was visiting.
Mm.
And like how you mentioned, it wasn't just one, it was like multiple different things that I was feeling called to. And I think that's really important. It's like people are gonna try to tell you a hundred ways for you to heal. That's the industry right now. It's the most
Yeah.
lucrative industry out there right now. Is let me show you how to heal. And I think you know how to heal. You just have to become attuned to that that specific frequency, that radio station that you are made to listen to. There, everybody has a specific song, and if
Mm.
we learn more than anything to hear clearly and discern, we will be led to the path that's going to take us wherever it is that we're supposed to be in, whether it is being sick, but it's being sick with power, because you're in clarity while you're sick or whatever it is. So I think that that's probably the most important thing, because we can relay a bunch of this and that and then take this tea and then do this thing will be with your toes and like, but it's really like you hold all the medicine in your body. You just have to learn to have access to it.
I completely agree. It took me a long time to get to that point. Even in my journey as a nurse and as a coach, like it really took helping people realizing that that's all it was. Because I realized there's not really a blueprint. Like there's not, this is what you do. Like I wish it was that simple. Like follow these steps and you'll get there. Like you can help, you can guide, but realistically it is all inside. It's all inside. But you're right, what you said. Like if you can't even, a lot of us don't even know what our body's saying. We don't understand that language, right? And so that's what we need to understand and learn, is the language of the body, and be able to actually receive that. And if our bodies don't even feel safe to get to that point, it's not happening. It doesn't matter what you do. You can do, like you said, you can do all these medicines, but if your gut can't even, like, it's not functioning, it doesn't matter. Like none of the stuff you do is truly going to get you to that point, right? It might help manage it, right? Like it might a little bit, like you were taking those medications, it helped. You weren't in
Yeah.
bed, right? You took the
Yeah.
medications, you weren't in bed. But is it going to get you to a point of truly being able to live this life, right? And I think it is becoming attuned to your body and really listening And really also knowing that you have that inside. It's not someone else to tell you, like, this is what you do. No, like, it's always been in here. It's hard to listen sometimes, right? We need to get quiet enough and also feel safe enough. And however that is, if it's sound healing, if it's, different, medicines, whatever it is, to get that body to be able to communicate and you be able to hear what it's saying. So I,
Yeah, and and I would like to mention too, like Western medicine for me, um, the way I like to work with it, and I don't know if you feel resonant with this, is I like to use it as a way to, as a tool to get in,
mm,
but not as a way to help me connect because they're not connected.
mm,
And so none of the work that they're doing is connected to the human, connected to the cycles, connected to the earth. They've extracted.
yes.
And so that's the disconnection. It's not a holistic, it's not a wholeness to it. It's a versions fragmented from the whole plant that they're using to work with you. So I think that in Western medicine, you can use it as the science,
Yeah.
like the tools that they have. Great, yeah, we can go in this machine and we can figure out if there's something inside of me that's blocked or pinching or not, moving properly, whatever it might be. But when it gets to a certain point, Western medicine fails, and we have to become aware that we use it to, it's like a car. You're gonna take it to take you somewhere,
Mhm.
but you have to get out and you have to connect. And this is how you
Yeah.
interact with the world around you and how create relationships. You don't create a relationship just being in the car the whole time,
Yeah.
you know. It's not meant for that. And so like I think that at some point, yes, it can get you further than a lot of
Mhm.
things, but it's not going to get you connected.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. I mean, I'm a nurse by trade, as I call it to people. Like, I get it. Like, it's not that I don't believe in the westernized way. Well, I should say that lightly. Okay. Yes, I should say that lightly because it's hard, right? Like, it's not that it's wrong, but it's also not right. Right. So
Right.
it's like weird because a lot of people have come to me like, well, here, I want to take this medication. What do you feel? And I'm like, okay, well, hormones, right? There's some women especially like perimenopausal women who need medications because they may commit suicide, right? Because their hormones are so off. So okay, let's start there. Let's get you balanced
Mhm.
because none of the work that we can do together will ever get you to that place if your hormones are all everywhere, right? It's the
Yeah.
starting point, right? It's the start. It's not where we end. It's just to get you stable enough to be able to receive the information because you can't connect if your body's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Medicine, there's a place for it, right? And so again, it's a starting point. It's not a fix all though, right? It doesn't get to the root of why those hormones are imbalanced, right? Our hormones shouldn't be imbalanced. They just are because of life, right? Either how we
Yeah.
eat or how we show up in the world or whatever. So yeah, I believe the same. It's a starting point. It's not everything. It's not going to get you to that point, but it may save you for a little bit of time, right? To not get you worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's awesome. Yeah, Lou, honestly, it's been so great talking to you. I feel like we could talk about this forever because there's so many layers to it. And as we continue, like there truly is. Like, I mean, I know for me, right? Like who I am today is not who I was 2 years ago. And
Mhm.
it just continues to evolve. And that's healing, right? There's not an ending point to healing. Like, I think we all want to get to that point of like, we're healed. And I was like, I'm healed. I feel great, right? And then it's like, it all started, right? It was just life saying, oh, okay, yeah, you might not have symptoms, you might be in remission, but guess what? You continue to live the way you're living, it's going to come back. As you said, you have to kind of adjust. So there are different levels. And I think that I appreciate it because I'm at the point now where it's different, right? Like where I'm willing to get to those deeper parts, right? And really connect and see the world completely different than I've seen it before, where before I couldn't see the world that I see now, right? And so I know we've had conversations about this. So I appreciate the journey because first off, I'd never meet people like you if I wasn't, right? Like there's a reason
Yeah.
why we're connected. And it's also beautiful the journey you get to share afterwards, right? When you
Mhm.
really start connecting to who you are internally and connect to those signals and connect to that voice and, whoever has been guiding you all this time that maybe you just weren't listening. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and being able to share the resources with each other, Healing House, Vicky, come on, like this is huge. Being able to have a place where you can actually find, what's hard to find out there where some of us, don't have access to reading all the books that you've read, but we have a lot of the information that you derive from those books and you're sharing it with community and the videos that you're creating, love this content, being able to come in groups with each other and be like, yo, you're doing it too, bet, like here, and then collaborate, like, hey, let's do this thing together because it's so energizing to know that
Mhm.
we're beyond whatever had happened to us and we're using it now. It's like it's fuel, to create our future with.
Yeah, and I think that's the big part, is being able to share that and being in a space with people. Because, a lot of people say you can heal alone, and it's like maybe parts of it, but you have to, the connection is a huge part, right? Like connection is huge, and however you find connection, it doesn't matter, but you need to connect with others in some way, right? You need to feel held at moments so that your body can feel safe enough to heal. So I love that. Well, awesome, Lou. So yeah, so listeners out there, thanks for listening. And truly, if you saw yourself in any part of the story, or you're like, man, or even if you felt something hit you off a little bit, like, ooh, maybe that hit, it's okay, right? Like, we're not here to, everything may not feel great at times, but there's something about this that you were meant to listen to, and just continue to, meditate on it and really hear what the body is saying and what this content today here was brought for. There's a reason you're here listening. There's a reason that you're here for whatever it might be for yourself or for others. And if you feel that you have a story to share, I'm going to put all my information below. You can contact me and you can get on here as well. And as well for the Healing House. Again, it's a very unique community for women, and it is unlike other places. Again, it's a place where you can feel seen, heard, understood, and truly get to that place of feeling better. So again, thanks Lou for being here, and thanks everybody for listening.